Black is one of the most mysterious and controversial Sprunki out there. When it comes to the others, we at least have some clarity, like Wenda being a confirmed killer, Jevin and Gray making it out alive, and some Sprunki not surviving at all. But Black, he's an enigma. The only thing the creator ever mentioned about him is that his voice in the first phase was supposed to sound like something out of Monochrome, just pitched lower. That's literally all we know. He doesn't show up in the first phase, and if you try dragging his icon onto a model in the game, you're immediately thrown into the second phase, where Black looks downright creepy and menacing. But who is he really? What's his deal? Why is he even in the Incredibox Sprunki universe? Is he a good guy or a villain? And how exactly is he tied to Jevin, Wenda, and some of the other Sprunki involved in the horrifying chaos we see unfold in Phase 2? We've got a couple of theories about who or what Black might actually be. The first one seems to be the most popular. Black could be the ultimate villain, someone who possibly hypnotized or manipulated certain Sprunki into becoming killers. From what little we know, Black wasn't even supposed to exist in the Incredibox Sprunki world at first, but after making some changes, the developer decided to make him canon. Initially, the Sprunki world was meant to stay as cheerful and carefree as it was in the first phase, but it seems like Nyanko wanted to add a darker twist to the story, and that's how Black came to be. According to this theory, Black is an anti-hero of sorts, a character meant to expose the darker side of the Sprunki universe. We know that some Sprunki are friends, others are romantically involved, and then there are those who outright hate each other, like Ratty and Lime. If you didn't know, canonically in Phase 1, Ratty hit Lime over the head with a hammer. Even though the Sprunki world seems all magical and happy on the surface, most of them either distrust each other at best or secretly despise one another at worst. But they can't openly show it. That's where Black comes in. He's like a prophet, or maybe even a savior, who exposes the hidden truths of the Sprunki universe and forces everyone to see it for what it really is. Now, let's touch on an intriguing theory that claims Phase 2 is the true reality of the Sprunki world, while Phase 1 is just a fabricated illusion meant to hide what's really happening. One of the strongest pieces of evidence supporting this theory is Ratty. Canonically, we know that besides Wenda, there are other killers. If you look at all the Sprunki victims, sure, they were all killed in horrifying ways, but Ratty, he went through something far worse than the others. The brutality of his fate suggests the work of a complete madman, and Lime fits that description perfectly. Lime escaped from a psychiatric hospital, and nothing in his behavior, whether in Phase 1 or Phase 2, suggests that he's recovered from his mental health issues. After being struck by Ratty, Lime could have decided to take revenge in the most twisted way imaginable. If this theory is true, then Black isn't really a villain, or even a hero. He's more of a metaphorical entity, one that doesn't actually exist but represents the brutal, unfiltered truth of the Incredibox Sprunki universe. The third theory claims that Black isn't just an ordinary Sprunki. In fact, he's not a Sprunki at all. He's a terrifying demon who came to the Sprunki world straight from hell and dragged everyone into his domain. But how did he even end up with the other Sprunki? The developer officially confirmed two key details. Jevin is a cultist, and Black didn't kill certain characters, including Jevin, simply because he forgot about them. Additionally, Nyanko clarified that Jevin is not a killer and is actually on the good side. So what if Jevin, in his fascination with cult practices, accidentally summoned Black? Maybe he got something wrong during a ritual, and this mistake unleashed the demon into their world. Once there, Black hypnotized Wenda and a few others, sending them all to his hellish realm, where the events we know unfolded. Interestingly, Black didn't kill anyone directly. Instead, his influence drove all the Sprunki to madness, causing them to destroy one another. Some fell under his hypnosis, others lost their minds entirely and started killing without any real purpose, and some were physically transformed into monsters. For example, Simon's transformation ultimately turned out fine, but the plant canonically growing within Veneria's body was corrupted by Black. As a result, the very thing inside Veneria ended up killing her. As for Jevin, Black might have spared him not just because he forgot, but because Jevin is, in a way, his master. It wouldn't make much sense, or be very polite, for Black to kill the Sprunki, who, albeit accidentally, gave him the opportunity to execute his sinister plan. But what if Black is actually a good character who fell under the negative influence of another Sprunki? The most obvious and straightforward culprit here is Wenda, who's officially a killer. She brutally murdered Tunner, and we know that Tunner was not only the sheriff of the Incredibox Sprunki universe, but also someone who was always ready to protect others. Oddly enough, Tunner became Wenda's first victim. While Wenda's confirmed body count currently includes only Tunner, many fans believe this is just the beginning of a much larger story we haven't been told yet. For a long time, Wenda may have been trying to manipulate other Sprunki to assist her in carrying out her gruesome plans. Black, as it turns out, may have succumbed to her influence, ultimately ending up on the bad side. Considering that the developer confirmed Black didn't kill certain characters simply because he forgot about them, it's safe to assume that some Sprunki, who couldn't hide or escape, fell victim to both Wenda and Black. This means Black isn't necessarily the ultimate villain, or even a killer in the Sprunki universe. So much as a pawn. He may be one of the few, or even the only Sprunki, who fell prey to Wenda's manipulation and began killing not because of insanity, like another character we discussed earlier, but because of Wenda's devious schemes. In previous theories, Black has been seen as everything from a god to a demon, a good Sprunki, and even a cold-blooded killer. But this final theory dismisses Black's existence as a physical being entirely. Instead, it suggests he's merely a symbol of transition and chaos. Let's take a closer look. One of the most underrated characters in the Incredibox Sprunki universe is Mr. Fun. In the second phase, he says some intriguing lines. Nothing here is real, yet everyone is dead. This cryptic statement hints that the events of the second phase might be distorted, perhaps even imagined. And in this context, Black is simply a metaphor for what's happening rather than a tangible being. The central figure of this theory is Gray, who was already peculiar in the first phase, let alone his unsettling behavior in the second phase. According to this theory, the so-called hell isn't real, but a vivid hallucination experienced by Gray. Gray is portrayed as a deeply anxious and fragile character, and it's plausible that some event pushed him to his breaking point. This mental collapse could have led to a catastrophic chain of events, the mass destruction of the Sprunki. The horrors we see in the second phase might be Gray's way of processing the guilt and pain he felt after realizing what he'd done. In short, Black isn't a physical character at all, but represents the turning point in Gray's life. The moment everything went wrong. Black is a manifestation of the trauma that led to the tragic downfall of the Sprunki. If this piques your interest, I explored this theory in greater detail in one of my videos, where I dive into the psychological depths of Gray and his descent into madness. It's important to remember that, for now, these are just theories that can only be officially confirmed or debunked once we get more leaks or clarifications from the creator. So, which theory about Black Sprunki intrigued you the most? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you soon in my next videos.